Hi and welcome to this video. In this video, as you can see, we can make it so that Biggles can see. Well, you'll have to peel the protective film off obviously, but I'll show you how I do it, how I put the thing together, the little bits and pieces. I think the most important lesson for anybody who's thinking about it is the bending of plexiglass, so that it doesn't distort too badly, craze, bubble or crack. So, see what I get up to. Come on then. Okay, so I'm just going to cut the hole in here. I'm using a different type of hole cutter. Just happen to have the right sort of sizes in this type, where we put the thread through. We've got a cutting piece here. This is a bit that actually does the cutting, and we run that down. Make sure we've got everything where we want it. And then on this side, we literally just tighten up the Allen screw. And all that does is it drives this section through the aluminium, and it makes a very neat hole, rather than using a sort of standard round, sort of rather than using that type of cutter, which we need to have pieces of wood on or something like that to act as a guide, so that you didn't end up with it chattering and rattling around, trying to find its own escape route through this thin aluminium. We'll be there in a moment. There we go. Let's punch that hole. Hardly a burr, very slight burr, but very little of a burr on the inside. And we undo this. You sort of see the piece that's stuck there. There we go. So that's what's been cut out by that little toothed section there, pressing into this recess. Really nice cutters. I've done one bit on one side here. As I say, if the video didn't come out the first time, do it again. But this is the sort of the finished product on one side. The perspex, sorry, the acrylic sheet has been cut, drilled, and countersunk. I tried just countersinking on a scrap piece of the aluminium, and there's not quite enough thickness in the metal to lose the head of the little raised countersink screws I'm using. So I just went for a dimpling system by using a piece of wood, which is floating around here somewhere. There we go. A piece of wood which I countersunk, putting it behind, putting a screw in, tap all the way along, because I haven't got a dimpler which suits the angle of those screws. So that's what I did all the way around all of these. It seems to have worked reasonably well. But I'll show you what I did for the holes. I'm using a 3mm drill bit. It's quite blunt 3mm drill bit, and all I'm doing is I'm just putting marks in each hole. I'm going around the whole setup, having got the sheet where I want it here, and you can sort of see I've got it clamped. So I'm going to go around the whole lot like that, and then I'll show you the next bit on the pillar drill. I hope that my hand and the lever and that doesn't get in the way too much for this, but here I've got a 3.5mm drill bit. The raised countersink screws I'm using are 3mm. I've got just enough land there, which is not bad for the screws to go into on this front edge, and a bit more land along the bottom. The drill is set to not quite its highest speed, and what I'll do is I will make sure I'm holding the acrylic down. Don't let it ride up the drill, because if you let it ride up the drill and things like that, it'll quite often crack it. So you want to make sure you hold it down firmly, and that you drill through fairly slowly. Let the drill do the cutting, but not so slowly it melts. This is a not overly sharp, not a brand new drill, but fairly new. So it does actually cut, rather than just melting the plastic. So here we go. Important, make sure that you've got wood behind the hole supporting it, not where you've drilled through before. So again, that can cause it to crack. I'll crack on and do the rest. So having drilled the hole oversized by half, at least you want a 1/2 mil oversize. Or you can go slightly more than that. I'm using this countersinking bit that's got the single cutting flute on one side. This is quite sharp. It's at the right angle for the screws. So that's 100 degree. And we're running it the same way as we did for the drill, at high speed. And as per the Tinnerman washers, description up there somewhere, link rather up there to go to for how the Tinnerman washers are, you want to over countersink this so that the metal that's going on here isn't tight in that countersink. That way you don't get a chance of it putting pressure on to crack. And the reason for the 1/2 mil oversize on the screw hole is because there's quite a thermal expansion differential between this and aluminium, so that's the usual thing that causes these to crack out, is if you haven't got the holes big enough. Right, I'll give it, I'll show you what it's like. Here we go. So I don't know how well that shows up, but it's quite a clean, smooth cut, which if you use a rose type countersinking bit you don't get with this plastic. It tends to judder around and create like a flower effect on there, which has the stress raisers to help things crack. That's quite nicely smoothed in there. I wouldn't say polished, but it's smoothed. It's really quite good. Right, I'll crack on and catch you in the next bit. Right, I'm just going to cut. I'm going to cut a little bit away from my final line, and that way if I do that I won't get the notch from that showing on my final piece of metal. Lets me bend this a lot around a little bit as well, and I'll work my way around like that until I've got these panel sections cut out, and then I'll join back to you after I've done that. There we have the basic frame cut out with tin snips and this mechanical nibbling attachment for going on a drill. It's not particularly accurate, and this one is, well, I haven't got a clue how old it is, but it's pretty ancient and it's fairly worn, so it's not the best format. But to finish it off, I'm just going to use this anvil nibbler, handheld anvil nibbler. It just allows me, I can cut fairly accurately with it. Just nibble out little rectangular sections, and then I can, looking down on the blade, you can cut fairly well to a line, needing very little work filing it. So I just work around. There's a lot of metal, I can just sort of roughly chop it, and then I can sight down and can do the edges sort of like that, and then that will be quite easy to file. Well, I say it would be quite easy to file, but at the moment I've got knackered rib, I think. So it's slowing me down, so I won't be getting as much achieved as I'd like to. Well, there we are, there's the basic frame. It's had a rough polish, and I've gone around the edges and just flexed them back using my nylon high-tech device, just moving it and sliding it along as you've seen in previous videos. So it's all basically there now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make up the piece to go behind there for the screen, to retain the screen, and two angle pieces to go up on the inside there and there, because that will really help hold the angles in place and make the whole thing sort of really stiff. Otherwise we're just relying on this piece of folded aluminium to produce the general stiffness. Having the extra piece behind, sandwiching the acrylic will make a big difference to the stiffness in that format, and won't add much in the way of weight. I've got to say I'm 80% happy with it. I'll probably do some little tweaks and twiddles, and just to try and make it look a little bit better. There's a few planishing marks still in there. I don't think I'll get those all out. But there we go, I don't think it's too bad. If I painted the whole thing, having it polished, most of it wouldn't show, so I thought I'll keep it with the theme that all the exposed metal sort of additional trim bits and things on the aircraft have been polished, so I'll keep this one polished. So this is the setup I've got going to bend the acrylic for the front screen section. So it's parallel with with that cabane strut there, so I don't get the air blowing straight into my face and things. I wanted to be parallel with that cabane so I can get my hand around. As you recall, that's my hand hold, so to speak, to lift myself in and out of the seat. The screen sort of comes up about here, about there, and I wanted to go parallel. So there's a slight kink, but I wanted the screen to come up quite high so you don't end up with too much of a venturi trying to blow my goggles off. I won't be able to see the hun if that's the case. So to do that, it only needs a small angle, that much angle I've got there on the mitre gauge bit. So what I'm going to do here is I'll set up a gap. This piece of wood is clamping the acrylic to the workbench, doing two tasks there. One, it's keeping a nice straight edge, and secondly, it's insulating the acrylic from heat. This piece of wood here is doing the same thing. It's insulating the acrylic from the heat and also giving a sort of a nice sort of straight edge for doing the bending, and I'll be bending it down. Now, important things when you're doing when you're heating up the acrylic is do not rush it. If you rush it, in some cases there can be water, moisture trapped in the acrylic, and you can end up with micro blisters. That wouldn't be a big issue with this particular setup, because well, it's only a narrow strip and it's not really in my line of sight. But if you're trying to make up one of these screens where you're doing the bends rather than making up the frame and things like that, it would be annoyingly visible, if nothing else. And if you're doing a vac formed acrylic canopy or something like that, you know, side panels for a door that's got a bulge in it, things, you really need to take the heat up very slowly to allow that moisture to be dissipated and removed before you get up to the temperature for actually doing the forming. In this case, I'm going to use the hot air gun at about 330 degrees or thereabouts, but actually at the point where the acrylic is, it'll be down to about 250 or something like that. And I'll work backwards and forwards for some time until it's got warm enough and pliable enough for it to move down. I'll take the heat away, I'll hold it in its set position, and we'll leave it to harden off. Well, there's the you can sort of see nothing really there on the curve. You can sort of see the slight optical distortion you get from the bend. That's the bend, just as I sort of want it, but no blistering involved there, so we're good to go. I'll put the protective coating, sort of lay that back into position there. Well, there the other little frame pieces made up. The whole lot's been degreased. I've masked the outside of the main frame because I'm going to keep that silver polished at the moment, and I've gone over this with Scotch Brite, fine Scotch Brite. So it'll take a key. It's now going to get primed up, acid primed, and acid etch primed, that is, and then the green Cessna chroma paint stuck over it, same way as I've done other metal work on the aircraft. So nothing particularly new to show, but this will get all painted up, and then I can actually do the put the acrylic in and get that all bolted up, ready to go, and then this will be ready to fit. Well, there it is, tacked into place. I've put the screws in around the acrylic. They're in and to stay. Well, near enough. I've got a couple of little bits I just want to adjust slightly, so like lining up the screw heads perfectly going up there. I've got them pretty much as I like them down the sides here and things. That's the view from inside, and actually if you've got your head where my head should be when I'm flying, you will see the frame pretty much disappears behind the cabane, so there's not too much to look at. We'll cut and make up a probably a rubber neoprene gasket to go around the edges where it goes onto the top of the turtle deck covering there. I might do cork, I'm not sure yet. I think probably the rubber. And well, there we go. It's all sorted out. Doesn't look too scabby. There are areas which I think I could have done slightly better, but with the tooling I've got available to me, I don't think it's too much to complain about. Well folks, that's it for this week. Slowed down a chunk. Well, it's Christmas time, and so you've got distracting you from aircraft building and other little taskets like that, plus the fact I'm a little bit sore around the ribs, but we managed to get the main bit done so Biggles can now get on the tail of the Hun. Hope you all had a good Christmas, and I wish you all a very, very happy 2024. Bye now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up. You can subscribe or even hit the little bell notification for future videos. Any comments would be appreciated, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Remember, go fly and feel the sky.